El Salvador's civil war came to an end more than 20 years ago, but the families of those killed or disappeared are still seeking justice. I'm Elaine Reyes in Washington, D.C., and this is America's Now. First up, civil war in El Salvador killed tens of thousands of people in the 1980s and 90s. An amnesty law has protected those who committed crimes from prosecution. Now that law is being lifted.
The law must be the same for all. We cannot have second-class citizens.
Correspondent Harris Whitbeck tells us what effect repealing amnesty could have on the country. Next, gangs and violence in Central America have forced young residents to migrate north. Many make it to shelters in Mexico where they can remain for months. This week's game changer is helping them with bicycles. We'll introduce you to the founder of Chichica, Abril Reza. And later, a way of teaching students can really sink their teeth into. Professors have created a floating classroom for them to learn hands-on about sharks.
Everything from...
Correspondent John Zarella takes us to Shark School in Florida. Welcome to the show. It was an event that defined a decade and marked an entire generation of Central Americans. 75,000 people were killed during El Salvador's civil war. Leftist insurgents battled for years against an army backed and trained by the United States, looking to gain control of the country. El Salvador was one of the battlegrounds of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, bathed in blood from 1980 until 1993 when a peace accord was signed. But almost 24 years later, not all has been forgiven or forgotten. America's Now correspondent Harris Whitbeck reports from San Salvador.
Desde algún lugar de El Salvador, Radio Venceremos, emisora del Frente para Mundo Martí, para la liberación.
De esta manera, Radio Venceremos hace 6 meses, el 10 de enero, iniciaba sus emisiones desde el Frente Oriental Francisco Sánchez.
A continuación presentamos la increíble...
It was a war that marked an entire generation of Central Americans. Ovidio Gonzalez is a lawyer working at a free legal aid center in San Salvador, helping some of the families of the victims of that war to find justice, or to find the remains of their loved ones, or information on those who just disappeared.
En una sociedad tiene que haber justicia, ¿verdad? Y debe de establecerse en el sistema de justicia esa equidad, ¿verdad? La justicia debe ser para todos por igual. No pueden haber ciudadanos de segundo grado, ¿verdad? O sea, sino que todos deben de ser iguales. Y la otra cuestión es que cuando no se investigan estas cosas, ¿verdad? Ni se dan a conocer, los pueblos tienden a repetir, ¿verdad? Y eso ha ocurrido en El Salvador. En El Salvador, ya en el 32 tuvimos una masacre, ¿verdad?, en donde se exterminaron casi a los indígenas, se les quitaron sus tierras. Pero si uno va a buscar información sobre esa masacre, es muy poca la que se encuentra. Entonces, y hoy, en el 80, ¿verdad?, volvemos a repetir, ¿verdad?, ese tipo de masacres. No es posible. Están las desapariciones. Y hoy, bueno, en el 80, ¿cuántas desapariciones hubieron? Y hoy actualmente están habiendo desapariciones también, o sea, como nunca se sancionan, nunca se investigan, ¿verdad? Entonces esos hechos vuelven a repetirse. Entonces lo que se quiere es que no se vuelvan a repetir, ¿verdad? Que la sociedad tome conciencia. Las heridas siempre están abiertas, ¿verdad? No se han cerrado nunca. Si uno les pregunta a las víctimas, habla con ellos, algunas cuentan lo ocurrido, ¿verdad? Sienten el dolor, se les nota, ¿verdad?, el olor. Algunas se cierran y se quedan en silencio, pero no es porque no quieran decirlo, sino que porque su trauma permanece mucho más fuerte todavía.
His work was hindered for more than 2 decades by the Salvadoran justice system. An amnesty law signed shortly after the peace accords in 1993 was meant to bring closure to those wounds. It was intended to allow combatants from both sides in the conflict to re-enter society, to help rebuild the country and get El Salvador on its feet. Dozens of military officers who were involved in massacres, disappearances, and other war crimes were allowed to walk free, while the relatives of their victims were left with unanswered questions and no reparation for their losses.
La amnistía lo que estableció fue un muro, ¿verdad? De impunidad, ¿verdad? Para que no fueran juzgadas muchas personas que masacraron, ¿verdad?, al pueblo cometieron muchos hechos que son considerados como de lesa humanidad y crímenes de guerra. Son delitos que no pueden perdonarse, no pueden amnistiarse. Entonces, y además de eso, porque las mismas víctimas siempre han estado pidiendo justicia, ¿verdad?
But last July, El Salvador's highest court repealed the amnesty law. Families of the victims rejoiced, while those who backed the military during the conflict said the peace process would be derailed. Conflict and debate were rekindled, rising like ghosts from some of the most emblematic war crimes of the past. The 1989 killing of 6 Jesuit priests and their 2 housekeepers on the campus of a San Salvador private university jolted already war-weary citizens of the country's capital.
Entonces, ¿usted escuchó los disparos?
Sí, sí, me despertaron los disparos.
¿A qué hora fue?
Y a las 2 de la mañana aproximadamente. Y
ellos vivían aquí.
Ellos vivían aquí, sí. En
Father
este lugar.
José María Tojeira was there.
Bueno, allí nos despertamos todos, ¿verdad? Incluso un compañero, yo no me levanté de la cama, pero...
The killings carried out by an elite Salvadoran army unit rocked Salvadoran society.
Al final del tiroteo vio descender.
Years later, the blood-stained belongings of the slain priests are enshrined in a museum on the site of the killings.
Tiene un simbolismo permanente. Este museo ha sido un lugar de reconocimiento de la gente. Nosotros no nos podemos quejar de unas ciertas formas de reparación que han habido de hecho, ¿verdad? No ha habido tanto una reparación estatal o de las instituciones. La Fuerza Armada, a pesar de ser un crimen institucional, nunca ha querido pedir perdón por ello, pero el pueblo salvadoreño sí ha manifestado una solidaridad muy grande desde el primer momento, desde los días del asesinato, ¿verdad? A veces venían caminando para celebrar misa, para acompañar desde lugares de guerra y atravesando zonas de tiroteo para estar aquí en la universidad mientras velábamos a nuestros hermanos. Entonces la solidaridad ha sido muy fuerte y sigue teniendo este lugar ese simbolismo de solidaridad, de reparación de un dolor habido.
Today, the museum stands as a way of making sure no one forgets what happened. An effort bolstered by the repeal of the amnesty law.
Lo que implica es una revisión de un pasado que fue silenciado y acallado de un modo muy duro, ¿verdad? Porque no solamente fue el gobierno, las instituciones estatales, sino con frecuencia la mayor parte de los medios de comunicación que hablaban de la necesidad de perdón y olvido, de silenciar el pasado, de no hacer nada con respecto al pasado. Y realmente había muchas personas heridas, dolidas, que se le habían violado derechos fundamentales y que tenían derecho primero a la verdad, que es la base de cualquier tipo de reconciliación y de seguir adelante. Y después también derecho a que esa verdad fuera reconocida por instituciones estatales.
But lawyers for some of those responsible for those crimes do not seem overly concerned. Carlos Guzman represents some of the army officers who were involved in the murders at the Jesuit University. 2 of those officers were declared guilty in 1991 and 7 others were set free. The amnesty law declared in 1993 ensured their crimes would go unpunished. And their lawyer says the fact that amnesty has been lifted will not affect them now.
Aquellos casos que ya fueron judicializados, como el caso jesuitas, por ejemplo, que ya fue judicializado, en donde hubo responsables y hasta condenados por el cometimiento de esos delitos, ya no pueden volver a ser enjuiciados. La Constitución de la República nuestra establece que nadie puede ser juzgado 2 veces por la misma causa. Por lo tanto, ese caso específico yo lo veo imposible que pueda suceder a la luz de lo que nuestra Constitución establece.
The Jesuit high-profile cases are probably the most emblematic of the wartime bloodshed in El Salvador. While it is unclear whether the lifting of amnesty will help bring closure to the relatives of victims, it is also unclear what effect it will have on the 2 generations that have grown up since the war ended. José Luis Sanz is the editor of El Faro, a popular and widely respected online newspaper that has covered much of post-conflict El Salvador. He says the country has gone beyond blaming warring ideologies for conflict. Modern problems like gang warfare, economic inequality, and government corruption are far more pressing.
El mito de la confrontación de los dos El Salvador por razones ideológicas y la idea de que las heridas de la guerra lo que hacen es dividir al Salvador entre izquierda, derecha, ex guerrilleros y gente que pudo formar parte o apoyar al ejército. Si hay 2 El Salvador, son los 2 que dividen, lógicamente, el acceso económico, ¿no? El poder económico, y si hablamos de memoria de la guerra y de las heridas nunca cerradas de la guerra, divide a las víctimas de los victimarios o de quienes guardan silencio. La vida diaria se antepone a todo lo demás, y el hecho de que ahora no exista, formalmente no esté ahí la ley de amnistía para dar un perdón que en realidad era falso o una solución que en realidad era falsa, no va a cambiar.
But he says the truth about the past still has to come out.
Es la primera generación, o son las primeras generaciones que tienen alguna noción de democracia real. Es decir, El Salvador nunca vivió en democracia. Ni siquiera tuvo un contexto en el que poder aspirar a una democracia real. No digo que estemos en ella, porque la participación y la exclusión hacen que llamar democrática a la dinámica del Salvador sea, digamos, decir demasiado. Pero lo cierto es que sí creo que las nuevas generaciones incorporan la transparencia, la participación, la libertad de expresión y el derecho a saber a su noción de construcción de sociedad. Y en ese sentido para ellos esto va a ser natural. Y les contrapone, espero que les contraponga a las generaciones que hicieron la guerra, sobre todo a quienes la dirigieron y a quienes pactaron la paz, que son al fin y al cabo las élites políticas que todavía gobiernan el país, tanto en la izquierda como en la derecha, y que nos mantienen un poco atados a su pacto.
Salvadorans have been able to talk about their country's bloody past, and their laws now allow those who still wish to seek justice that perhaps had not been served.
Those opposed to the amnesty law being lifted fear it could derail the peace accords that were signed back in 1992. Legally, the accords are independent of the amnesty law, signed 3 months after they went into effect. Another country investigating the wrongdoing of military forces is Uruguay. As he began his second term as president last year, Tabaré Vázquez announced an investigation into the military regime that ruled his country from 1973 through 1985. This despite a law that passed in 1986 that limits the prosecution of the dictatorship's leaders. I recently sat down with President Vázquez in New York and asked him about Uruguay's past and its future. President Vázquez, thank you so much for being with us today. How would you describe Uruguay right now? You've been in office a little more than a year. This is your second time as president. So what has changed since your first term, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Ha pasado el tiempo, este es el tercer gobierno del Frente Amplio, y en este momento el país, en función de lo que está sucediendo en la región y en el mundo, ha enlentecido su crecimiento, pero no ha entrado en recesión, y en este momento se encuentra llevando adelante un intento para retomar, en función de las fortalezas que creamos en su momento, una nueva etapa de crecimiento más importante para poder seguir llevando adelante políticas inclusivas y de igualdad que han hecho que Uruguay se destaque en la región y también en el mundo.
You know, your country's economy is one of the most stable in the region. As you mentioned, the economy has slowed. So what are you doing to make sure that you maintain a level of growth, or to at least keep what you have?
Efectivamente, pese a que nos diferenciamos en la región desde el punto, porque, por ejemplo, Brasil está con un crecimiento negativo, Argentina también tiene problemas de crecimiento. Sin embargo, hay una diferenciación importante y Uruguay debe buscar caminos de crecimiento genuino, auténtico. Y ese crecimiento genuino y auténtico se logra con inversiones, fundamentalmente hacia el sector productivo y también al de servicios, considerando que los servicios también es producción. Y en ese sentido Uruguay ofrece elementos muy positivos para que llegue la inversión extranjera. Por ejemplo, tenemos una ley de inversiones muy buena que permite un tratamiento similar al inversor nacional que al inversor extranjero. Le permite al inversor extranjero repatriar las ganancias que tenga, lo premia si parte de esas ganancias se reinvierten en el país, le ofrece estímulos fiscales. Uruguay ofrece también, además de todo esto, reglas de juego muy claras, muy precisas, y el respeto a las mismas. Uruguay es considerado en el mundo como uno de los países que tiene menores niveles de corrupción. Uruguay también es reconocido internacionalmente por la seriedad de su poder judicial, lo que da muchas garantías al inversor que llegue a nuestro país. Y yo diría que para los inversores, que por cierto miran el presente, pero fundamentalmente miran el futuro, Uruguay ofrece una fortaleza institucional muy importante, que es un elemento garante de la seriedad, de la responsabilidad y de las seguridades que Uruguay ofrece. Por otra parte, y no quiero olvidarme de otro elemento sustantivo que atrae seguramente al inversor, es que en América Latina y el Caribe es el país que ofrece mayor seguridad ciudadana.
President, your country is on the map as being one of the most progressive in Latin America. You're always held up as an example when it comes to legalizing marijuana, gay marriage. How do you keep the balance when it comes to moving your country into the future, but at the same time balancing with traditional conservative values with many of your people?
Aunque tenemos algunos elementos de conservadurismo, sin embargo, si yo tuviera que definir la media política de la sociedad uruguaya, diría que el pensamiento mayoritario, políticamente hablando, en Uruguay es de centro centroizquierda, pero generalmente girando alrededor del centro del posicionamiento político. Por tanto, estas medidas que usted ha mencionado y otras, también que van en la línea de una concepción progresista, si bien hubo algunas voces y que hay algunas voces que se oponen al desarrollo de este tipo de políticas, mayoritariamente el pueblo uruguayo las ha aceptado, yo diría relativamente bien, sin mayor conflicto interno en la sociedad uruguaya. Pero en lo que respecta a la labor del gobierno para poder lograr esa situación, nosotros estamos convencidos que como cualquier organismo vivo, una sociedad tiene que lograr equilibrios internos importantes, lo que en medicina llamamos homeostasis, para que realmente ese organismo pueda crecer, pueda desarrollarse armónicamente.
Describe your relationship with China and what do you hope to accomplish when your country hosts the China-Latin America Business Summit next year?
Es mi quinto viaje a China. No todo como presidente, estuve en dos oportunidades, en China una de ellas, en un congreso médico mundial, un congreso mundial de cáncer. En la otra visité a China como presidente del Frente Amplio, invitado por el Partido Comunista Chino. Visité China siendo intendente, y sí, intendente, en el primer gobierno, la cuarta visita y ahora la quinta visita. Creo que estas referencias pautan las excelentes relaciones que existen entre nuestros países, más allá de las dimensiones tan diferentes que tenemos. Un gran país, una enorme potencia internacional como lo es China, y un pequeño país como lo es Uruguay, que busca su ubicación en el mundo. Y tenemos un especial interés en impulsar una modernización y una potenciación del ferrocarril de carga, sobre todo cuando para Uruguay se presentan ahora desafíos muy importantes por la instalación de una nueva planta de producción de pasta de celulosa muy importante. Y de la misma manera consideramos que otros elementos vinculados a la modernización y ampliación de la infraestructura puede importar a inversores chinos que lleguen a nuestro país. Pero más allá de los aspectos comerciales tan importantes en esta época y de los aspectos económicos, también llevamos una agenda para impulsar un mayor intercambio cultural, científico, artístico, porque estos elementos, pensamos, son sustanciales para que los pueblos se conozcan mejor y para que realmente esa fraternidad que puede existir entre dos países se sustente en un mayor conocimiento de lo que es el pueblo chino para el pueblo uruguayo y el pueblo uruguayo para el pueblo chino. Y por ahí quizás tengamos para hablar de fútbol, que sabemos que también le gusta mucho a China.
President Vázquez, thank you so much for joining us on America's
You're
Now.
welcome. Thank you.
Coming up.
Helping Central American migrants in Mexico with bicycles.
Es una
cuestión como de mucho orgullo poder saber que
It makes me proud to know that our work bears fruit, that it's possible to help and create projects that change all of us.
Es posible hacer proyectos que puedan impactarlos a todos.
America's Now.
Back. Mexico is one of the main transit countries for migrants from Central America toward the United States. Oftentimes, they suffer from poverty, crime, and extortion on their journey. In Mexico City, a young woman created a way for those transitioning through Mexico. Kikika is a bicycle shop in the south of the capital city. The shop brings together the sport of cycling with the needs of the migrants. Meet this week's game changer, Abril Reza.
Ya no es un asunto de tener una aspiración a una mejora económica y se ven forzados por las extorsiones constantes a abandonar todo y se suman a estas oleadas de migración que avanzan sobre la frontera, pero las rutas por las cuales están avanzando son peligrosas. Entonces, pasar por México se vuelve algo no solamente doloroso, sino frustrante y en ocasiones hasta mortal, ¿no? Mi nombre es Abril Reza, soy directora y coordinadora del proyecto Kikika.
Necesitamos justamente un eje, las dos ruedas y energía. Cerca, pendones, los pendones.
Kikika es un proyecto que se diseñó para migrantes, refugiados y solicitantes de asilo. Nosotros brindamos servicios de reparación mecánica, prestación de servicios y venta de accesorios de bicicletas. Kikika les ofrece capacitación a los migrantes con los que trabajamos, después de ello una profesionalización de sus habilidades y al final tratamos de ofrecer una inserción laboral. Decidimos trabajar con las bicicletas porque es una tendencia a la alza. Hay una cantidad como de 143,000 personas que utilizan la bicicleta en el Distrito Federal. Y es un medio de transporte que también brinda una posibilidad de reducir el impacto ecológico.
Y me dijo, no, me dice, no, vení mañana, me dice, y mañana va a haber, o te marco, Yo fui parte de la marina de mi país y tuve problemas con los narcos. Tenía problemas en mi colonia, con las pandillas, barrio 18. Si los pandilleros me agarran, me asesinan. Si los narcos me agarran, me desaparecen. Mi situación en la cárcel del inmigrante era extraña porque no sé, o estás en un nuevo lugar, no conoces a nadie, no tienes familia. Tienes que ver cómo haces para obtener un empleo porque en la casa no puedes estar más de 3 meses, ¿no? Y te desesperas. Mi capacitación en Kikika fue genial porque fue una gran oportunidad de trabajo que no la tenía. Y fue algo que me ayudó a estarme sustentando al día y generándome empleo. Kikika para mí fue mi base, en realidad mi oportunidad de empleo, ¿no? La oportunidad de salirme de la cárcel inmigrante y ya empezar mi vida por mí mismo, ¿no?
Trabajando, o sea, que tu jefe te haga una oferta de trabajo y por medio de eso.
Kikika es una palabra en náhuatl. Significa quien se yergue, quien se levanta con dignidad. En la filosofía tolteca esto era reservado a aquellos que habían logrado verse a sí mismos un grado de entendimiento y estaba reservado para sacerdotes y guerreros. Y entonces los migrantes son eso para nosotros. Es una cuestión como de mucho orgullo poder saber que lo que estamos haciendo está teniendo frutos y que es posible ayudar a las personas, es posible hacer proyectos que puedan impactarlos a todos.
Para que ella haga uso y cuidado de esta lista.
Michael has found a full-time job and is making plans to resume his studies. We'd love to have your input, so if you know someone who's helping change the world, drop us a line at an@cctv-america.com or tweet us at cctv_America and tell us about a game changer you'd like to see on America's Now.
Coming up.
Students set out on a shark tagging adventure.
When I first heard about it, I didn't think that we would actually be getting in the shark, taking the biopsies, taking it's some sort of stress test. We would actually be doing all these things. I thought we would just kind of sit back and watch them, but we actually get really hands-on with it.
America's Now.
Welcome back to America's Now. The world's oceans have seen the biggest shark decline in 40 years. Researchers at Dalhousie University in Canada put the number of sharks killed each year at 100 million. Marine biologists say more education about shark species is desperately needed. So where do you begin? In Miami, Florida, it's with high school students and their classroom is on the water. Our John Zarello quite literally tagged along.
Believe it or not, this boat is a classroom. The lecture is, without question, a bit unusual.
You guys are going to be standing on the back of the boat. You guys are going to be deploying this, okay? So it's going to be hooked with bait. You're going to throw this in.
The laboratory is, well, big. It's the ocean.
We're going to go head off probably about 2.5 miles east into the Atlantic Ocean off of South Beach.
The 25 kids on board are high school students from around the United States, participating in a program called Summer Scholar by the University of Miami. Many are planning to pursue careers in marine biology. And on this sun-drenched day, most will be getting their first chance to work side by side with the university's shark researchers.
So, why are we out here? So we're out here to catch sharks, right? But there's a reason we're not just out here to catch sharks just for fun and enjoyment. We're actually out here to do research.
Stephen Kane is a University of Miami marine biologist.
Since the program began, we brought out over 7,000 high school students. How remarkable is it that on every single trip that we're collecting samples, we're also next generation of marine science.
Ashley Lascano and Gabby Fernandez live in Miami. They've grown up on the water. Ashley is hoping to become a marine biologist, Gabby a veterinarian.
I want to eventually become a marine biologist because, sharks have always fascinated me, and just, getting this experience it's like, I guess you can say once in a lifetime, but not necessarily. You just got to look for it.
When I first heard about it, I didn't think that we would actually be getting in the shark, taking the biopsies, taking it's like some sort of stress test. Like we would actually be doing all these things. I thought we would just kind of sit back and watch them, but we actually get really hands-on with it.
But hands-on will have to wait. There is much work to be done. First, the team lays down a series of what are called drum lines, each with a baited hook. The students do the honors.
We got a great piece of bait here for you. Left hand like this. Perfect. Right hand holding the bait.
Once the bait and the weight are in the water, the buoy follows, marking the spot where the line is down. Shark researcher Robbie Romer says there's no better way for the kids to learn.
What we try to do is, we make it fun, we make it engaging, we make it visceral so that they learn, but they're also having a great time. They're tagging sharks, they're actually working, they're scientists for a day, and to me there's no better way than to learn than actually be immersed in the very thing you're learning about.
With all the lines in, the researchers retrace their steps, checking the lines beginning with the first one they put out. There's no guarantee a shark is on the other end. Sometimes it's just shredded bait. But their luck has changed. Underwater photographer Frank Gibson jumps in, but only after he knows it's safe. A sandbar shark is hooked. It's clearly not in a good mood, thrashing as they hoist it onto the platform. The researchers are quickly on him, like riding a bucking bronco.
Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
The choreographed move centers the shark on the platform.
Hold on, let me get the pump in, you're good.
The pump is used, researchers say, to pacify the shark and to flush oxygenated water over its gills. Tests are done. Students are helping too, taking measurements and tagging the sandbar shark with what's called a plastic spaghetti tag.
Give it a tug. Tag number confirmed.
-29. Read the tag number. Tag number is 374911.
What are you learning from tagging these sharks?
We're interested in the movements of sharks. Where do they go? If you want to conserve a species, you kind of have to know where it's hanging out. We call that a home range. We found out with tiger sharks, for instance, that there's a big group of tiger sharks that hang out in the Bahamas, and that they're traveling great distances to meet up there.
Some of the students watched the drama unfold from the top deck. Taylor Minter was one of them. Her family is from Spain and Portugal. They live now in Maryland.
I thought that was amazing. I thought that was I've never seen a shark in person before.
Taylor was just fine keeping a little distance between herself and the shark.
Kind of want to touch it. I kind of do.
Just kind of?
Yeah. All right, I really want to touch it.
Okay. Photographer Gibson records the moment the sandbar shark is released and swims away. Before long, a nurse shark is on the platform.
Stay on it, stay on it.
The organized chaos begins again.
Here you go. One more. 1 second.
Here you go.
1, 2, 3. Oh, you guys are good. You're good. You're in.
All right, let's do it quick.
Hands on the other side of the jaw.
A tiny clipping is taken from the edge of the dorsal fin, like cutting a fingernail. From this, the biologists can look at the shark's dietary trends and the toxicity of its environment. A blood sample is drawn and the animal measured. The students are in the thick of it again, side by side with the research team.
220 for total length.
Many shark species are very susceptible to stress, and the researchers are mindful of that. So everything from the kind of hooks they use to the length of time of the exam is done with the shark's welfare as the top priority.
You noticed how quickly we work today. So our average workup times were somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 minutes, and frankly that was maybe even a little longer than what we would like it. So we're shooting typically for 3 to 5 minutes, and once we hit those numbers, let's get the animal back in the water.
The exam over, the nurse shark is released and swims slowly away past the camera, apparently unfazed by the experience. 2 more sharks were caught this day, a second sandbar, and...
This is so cool. Oh my God, hammerheads are so cool. I can't believe I'm that close. Oh my God, he's right there. Whoa!
Hammerheads are a rare catch. This one was a good 12 feet long. There's no attempt to bring it on the platform. The biologists say hammerheads are very sensitive to stress. So the workup is done carefully and quickly with the animal in the water. By the day's end, Minter was all in.
I've wanted to go to UM for a while, and this was definitely a real eye-opener to see if I wanted to actually come here, and I love it. And it has really shown me, like, this is what I want to do when I'm older.
Was this what you'd consider a pretty good day?
You know, I forget, one of the students down there came up to me, and it's also, we should say it's a beautiful day, but it's also a hot day with, you know, the heat index probably over 100. We're trying to make sure everybody's hydrated. There's a student down there who says, she's looking a little dazed and confused. I said, "Are you okay? Do you need water?" And she's like, "No, I just tagged a shark for the first time." And I'm like, okay, you know, we did our job today.
And the students, well, they did just fine too.
Good job. Really nice job.
Nice job. Okay.
The University of Miami Shark Research Team has been running the Summer Scholars Program for 6 years. They have just launched a new program aimed at attracting more women to marine biology. It's called FINS, Females in the Natural Sciences.
Coming up.
An artist who describes his work as music for the eyes.
Since I was a kid, I always liked drawings and things like, you know, like drawing piece of paper in school, like notebooks and things like that. But I never thought that our art would be like, you know, something that would take me to so many people and so many places.
America's Now.
Welcome back. Miami is a major center for commerce, culture, entertainment, and the arts, nicknamed the Northern Capital of Latin America. Because of its diversity, the city attracts a large number of musicians, actors, dancers, and artists. One of those mesmerized by his style is Miami transplant Romero Brito, and he's been filling the streets with his unique color palette since he moved there in 1987. He is this week's Urban Voice.
I'm Romero Brito, I'm an artist, yeah. I was born in Brazil, in a city in the coast of, the east coast of Brazil, and this city is called Recife, and it's a pretty old city. In a family, my mother had like 9 children, and we lived in this neighborhood that was not far from the beach. Well, my mother was a single mother, and so she was always, you know, it was really difficult. I mean, I have to tell you, I think being poor is not a good picture. And I think that's really important education in the world that we live today.
His talent allowed him to fly.
I think it's my art, basically. My art is is this instrument that's taken me to a lot of people and a lot of places.
Self-taught at an early age, he painted what he saw on any scraps that he could find. His passion pushed him to excel academically, but his creative nature led him to seek new adventures outside academia. He quit law school, traveled to Paris, and there was introduced to the works of Matisse and Picasso. After a few exhibitions, Brito came to the US, where pop art was blossoming. In 1987, Romero Brito moved to Miami, making it his home.
I love Miami Beach. Miami Beach has so much character, and the sun, the beach, the people coming from around the world. The energy is really high there, really amazing energy, because people come to Miami Beach with the spirit of celebration. It's wonderful to know that the city that I live, that I love, you know, people are very supportive of my work. There's incredible people in this community here.
Brito believes in giving back and offering opportunities to those who lack them.
At this point, there was time that I was giving donation a lot to, to so many charities, through my studio, which I still do it, but I do it's a long-term, vision of my studio, because I want eventually my studio to be part of it. I want to donate my studio and a lot of things that I've been able to do, through the years to my foundation. And my foundation is going to be able to, kind of support young artists or support like someone they want to get a better education in life. That's the idea.
The painter has exhibited in London, Stockholm, Madrid, Tokyo, South Korea, and Italy.
Since I was a kid, I always liked drawings and things like, like drawing piece of paper in school, like notebooks and things like that. But I never thought that our art would be like, something that would take me to so many people in so many places.
His art is presently featured on 5 continents in over 100 galleries. His projects have transcended the conservative parameters of art. He has designed watches, painted cars, even a Barbie. His artwork has been commissioned by Cirque du Soleil, the Super Bowl, the United Nations, Royal Caribbean Cruises, Disney, and Adidas.
Meeting Michael Jackson for the first time, and he invited me to come to see Neverland. It was spectacular. Actually, he did the party for me there in Neverland. It was really special, like a whole day, event. And when I also did the largest pyramid in Hyde Park, it was spectacular because it was, it was a celebration of bringing back the treasure of an amazing, dynasty, that King Tutankhamun to Great Britain, and the organizer had asked me to create this massive sculpture Hyde Park ever had in the park. And to date is the largest installation and sculpture that I ever done. It was, the pyramid in Hyde Park. I'm a big fan of the royal family. There's a portrait there of Prince William and Kate Middleton. Why I paint? I mean, I paint actually because I feel like, it's like something that, I love it. I think each one of us, we kind of develop as we grow some certain kind of, not say talent, but some kind of desire to do something. And the way I do it through my art.
Through his creations, he hopes to inspire well-being and happiness.
I hope that my art can always bring a smile on people's face and a good feeling in somebody else inside when you see that. Like a music for people's eyes, because usually when you listen to the music, you feel like really good. And I hope that my art can be music for people's eyes. When you look at it, make it feel like this special feeling, this energy. Yes, I love colors. I mean, if I see anything that's colorful, I'm going right there. I don't know, maybe some people may think I'm eccentric. I mean, for me, I think I'm normal, kind of too normal, but because I've seen some other artists out there, but for some people I may be eccentric, like one thing that may be a little bit crazy, like for me to go out, and I love colorful clothes.
His critics say that he's not an artist, just a marketing designer.
I know that there's a lot of people in the arts that they don't agree with me, but there's millions of people out there in the world that really agree with me, and they wanted to, to have my art closer to them. So in the end of the day, I do pay attention to people who are more positive, and there's a lot of people supporting my work that are very positive. They live with amazing art. My work is in the hands of the most incredible people in the world. And that's what I focus more, I don't focus in the comments, like of someone who never came to see me or understand what I do. And just because, I've been successful, they're just jealous of my success.
And who wouldn't be jealous when you're the honoree at the world's largest party, Rio de Janeiro's Carnival?
So it was an entire school of samba that they did with 5,000, participants, all dressed up, inspired in my work. So there was, like a period of my art, being told like a story. Most of the time, you only get an honor like that when we're gone.
As one of FIFA's 2014 World Cup ambassadors, he launched the program Football for Hope. His work showed that football also could be a platform for promoting social change in a world marked by inequality. Education changes life, and Brito believes it could also widen horizons for many others. He was also recently invited to be an honorary torchbearer for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games.
I think the idea for anybody, I'm not only saying about being an artist, but anybody that has a dream to change their lives and change their community and change the world, you have to start somewhere. You cannot wait for the big move or the big break. You gotta keep moving.
Romero received an honorary doctoral degree from the Academy of Arts University in July. Finally, we head to Santiago, Chile, where thousands of runners participated in a happy color run. This 5K race has become very popular all over the world because of the different colored powders which shower the runners every kilometer they reach. We leave you with the vibrant and various shades of the color run race. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week for another edition of America's Now.